Hill Enterprises.
Yes, may I speak with Jerry Hill?
This is he.
Hi, sir. This is Greg Burnham. I met with a gentleman, DPD, retired DPD, at the Ramada in Dallas, and he passed your number on to me and told me to give you a ring. Harrison?
Yeah.
I had a few questions, and I hate to just jump to those without more introduction, but if that's okay, may I do so?
Are you the fellow out of California?
Yes, sir, San Diego.
Okay, he told me about you. Okay.
A couple just real quick ones, if I might.
All right.
There was a photo taken at about 12:40, roughly 12:45. You can see it on the top of the TSPD building, the Hurt sign up there. And in the foreground, Buddy Walters is standing. This is on the south side of Elm, with a uniformed, obviously supervised Pfizer DPD with his white hat on. And then there is a gentleman who is in a suit, who you have the profile of his left face. He's facing towards the grassy knoll, actually, and he's bent down, retrieving something from the grass, apparently. And it has been reported, whether this is accurate or not, that it was a .45 caliber bullet. But what my question isn't what the bullet was, if it was a bullet, but the name of the man in the suit bending down.
I'd have to see the picture.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you have an email?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could give me that, I can quickly send you the photo.
Okay. It's JLH.
Okay. JLH.
1231.
1231.
At. MSN.
MSN.com. Okay, so I guess phonetically that would be James.
Microsoft.
I'm sorry, sir?
That's Microsoft.
Microsoft,
MSN.
Okay. Okay, so that's James Lincoln Henry 1231.
Yeah.
Okay, at MSN.com. Okay. That sounds.
What was the other question?
Well, gosh, there's a few. One of them that I find intriguing, and please correct if any of these details are wrong, because you would know. Okay, you were at the Texas Theater, obviously.
Right.
Okay, now I've got a couple different things from DPD, by the way, documentation. One, of course, is, as we know, that the suspect was arrested in the auditorium. Right. Okay, there's also a second report from DPD that was sent to, I guess, reveal that that he was arrested in the balcony.
No, he was not.
Okay. Now, was there, to your knowledge, an individual that was arrested, however, in the balcony?
No.
Additional person?
No.
Okay, and this report, it was written up just for your own, knowledge by Stringfellow.
Okay, I know who he was.
Okay,
but there was nobody arrested.
Okay. Anybody found and escorted, maybe?
There were a bunch of kids playing hooky. They may have made them show ID and then got them out of the building. I don't know about that. They were up there trying to scatter when I went to the balcony, and I came back down. Got in the lower floor with in time to get in the fight. But I don't know of anybody at all that was arrested up there. This is the first I'd ever heard of that report.
Okay. It is from Captain W.P. Ganaway, Special Services Bureau, Dallas PD, through Lieutenant Jack Revel, Criminal Intelligence Section, Special Services Bureau, Dallas Police Department. Subject, presidential assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald. And by the way, it is dated November 23rd, the next day, 1963.
Okay.
Sir, the following report is submitted for your information. On November 22nd, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested in the balcony of the Texas Theater at 231 West Jefferson Boulevard and was charged with the murder of President John F. Kennedy and the murder of Officer J.D. Tippit. Respectfully submitted, L.D. Stringfellow, Detective Criminal Intelligence Section.
He said the location. Texas Theater, but not in the balcony.
Right, okay. 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 And I'm not disputing you here at all, so please don't take it that way, because you know how this case is. Boy, you ask, you find this, and then you find that, then they conflict, and then you're not sure, and then you look for corroboration, right? But there is corroboration that there was an individual arrested up there. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, that this is the fellow that we call Lee Harvey Oswald. What I would ask is this: is there a possibility that there was a, for lack of a better way of saying it, Oswald look-alike?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. Okay. Okay. All right. So thank you for that question. Next thing would be this. Okay. According to my info, could be wrong again, that you were at the station when you heard about the assassination.
Correct.
Okay. And you were in plain clothes that day.
That's correct.
In personnel department. Okay. And then I guess you went from the station to the school book depository.
Went to the basement, commandeered a squad, and went code 3 to the school book depository.
Okay. Were you in car 207?
No. Well, I was in the officer that I rode down with is named Valentine.
Jim? Yeah, okay.
I don't know what his car.
Okay. And did you also have Jim Well from Dallas Morning News?
Ewell.
Or Ewell?
E-W-E-L-L.
Jim Ewell. Okay, so he was also there with you.
Yeah.
Who shouted, "Here it is," the sniper's nest?
The guy that found it first, I was on the floor that he was on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We had gone into the building, gone to the 7th floor,
Mm-hmm.
checked the roof of the 7th floor, left
Mm-hmm.
the uniform officer up there, and came back down to the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that actually found the sniper's nest, the first guy to see it, was a deputy sheriff named Mooney.
Okay.
And he yelled out, and I went over, and we saw the 3 spent pillows against the baseboard, and the
Mm-hmm.
boxes propped where he could use it for an armrest, and then the other boxes that were stacked up to keep people from being able to see him back there unless they walked up and looked over the top of the barricade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I've also got I want to emphasize this very much. When I say these things, I am not disputing what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm asking questions based on other documents that could be just wrong, mistaken, or whatever, okay? The original Dallas Police Department report said that there were 2 spent cartridges, and it was only literally months later that was changed to 3, and the 3 was handwritten in.
There were 3. I saw 3 myself.
You saw 3 yourself, okay. Now, okay. Let me ask this, too, just so that I know. Is the official story, in your opinion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there were 3, I mean overall, I don't mean just that issue.
Yes.
Okay, so in your view, one man fired 3 shots.
Right.
And obviously
missed with 1.
Yep. 1 passed through JFK. Okay, now.
His neck hit Connolly, and the other one hit him in the head.
Okay. The Warren Commission never saw any of the autopsy photographs. They were not allowed to see the X-rays. What they relied upon was an artist's rendition. Now, at the point where Gerald Ford admitted that he did raise that, he said the reason he did it, he said, wasn't to distort history, but it was to make it more consistent with what we know happened. Now, you're, law enforcement. When you alter something that material, it can kind of have an effect on the conclusion. Okay. Furthermore, when I have the tape recordings from the Oval Office, we're talking about now. This is the 29th of November, 1 week after the assassination, where J. Edgar Hoover, FBI director, is talking with the President of the United States, LBJ. And they get to a point in the conversation where Johnson says, well, were any of the shots fired at me? And Hoover says, no, absolutely not. All 3 were fired directly at the president. And then he says, this is what he said, was the first shot hit Kennedy, he says hit the president, and the third shot hit the president, and the second shot hit Connally. Now, the reason I want to say this and emphasize it, okay, is some people have listened to this and commented that, well, he was being somewhat, frivolous. No. This was the director of the FBI talking to the President of the United States.
He was also spending 90% of his time covering up for the mistakes his people made, trying to prove that he was God. He was the biggest roadblock to the whole investigation.
Well, further in the conversation...
One shot completely missed and hit the curb
yes.
across the street.
By Tague, or the one that hit the bystander, the ricochet?
No, it wasn't a ricochet. This was, I say a ricochet. It was a piece of the bullet, but it hit the curb by a storm sewer. And the FBI came down there with jackhammers and dug up the whole curb and sent it to the lab in Washington.
Now, was this a curb on Elm?
It was a curb on Elm,
okay,
opposite the book depository, down about even with where the motorcade was when the shot was fired.
Okay.
There's still a storm drain there.
Yes, sir. In fact, that brings me back to my first question, because that's the exact area where Buddy Walters is standing with the uniformed DPD and the suit who's bent down. That's that exact same vicinity of what has been reported as being a bullet that apparently was found. But now if that's the case, okay, we know that one bullet hit Kennedy in the back or the neck or whatever, passed through and did everything to Connally. So there's one bullet.
Right.
We know one bullet blew Kennedy's brains out, so there's two. We know one missed the one you're referring to that ended up right there on South Elm.
Right.
That's three. We also know, and this isn't even in the Warren Commission, and I don't rely on it too much, but even this is there. James Tague, an innocent bystander, standing down by the triple underpass near Maine, was hit by a fragment of concrete from a bullet strike that hit there, and it ricocheted off and hit him and cut him in the face. And he was interviewed immediately thereafter. That would be 4 bullets.
Or the ricochet from the deal that where the one hit the curb, that could have traveled far enough to get up to Frosty if he was reasonably close to the triple underpass.
The only problem is that it ended up here. I can read it to you right here. Walters was the first law enforcement official to speak to James Tague, who was cut by a flying object during the assassination. Walters searched the area near the mouth of the triple underpass where Tague had been standing and found a bullet mark on the top edge of the curb on Main Street near the underpass, and that is a direct quote. Walters appears in photographs taken also on the south side of Elm, across the street from the Pergola, exactly 10 minutes after the shooting. So that's a little confusing there.
Well, this is the first I've heard about.
Yeah.
About the shot being hit on the curb on Main Street.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'd take that with a grain of salt, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but I've got your email, so what I can do, if you'd like, I can even send you photographs, of the man Tague right after this occurred, but also the one, especially of the name of the guy bending down in the. It's kind of interesting in the Hoover conversation with LBJ. LBJ, says, well, how is it that Connally got hit? And Hoover says, well, it was after the first shot, he turned to look at the president. And I think in that turning is how he got hit. And then LBJ goes, okay, so that was the second shot or something like that. And then Hoover interrupts and he says, no. He says the president was hit by the first and the third. The second one hit Connally. And then Johnson says, that's what I said. He goes, then he goes, you're going to love this. He goes to Hoover, he goes, so if, and I quote, so if Connally hadn't been in the way, all 3 shots would have hit the president. And Hoover says, most definitely, all 3 would have hit the president. Now, Connolly was never in a position to have blocked a shot aimed for,
No.
you know. And this was hours before the FBI gave the report to Johnson and he announced the Warren Commission. And then the last day of the Warren Commission, 9 months later, roughly 10 months later, I have the recording where LBJ is talking to Senator Richard Russell. Well, Richard Russell was the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, and he was on the Warren Commission. They had just got done with the report, right? During that conversation, Russell's really been out of shape, you know. Johnson says, why the hell did you leave town so soon, Dick? And he goes, that damn Warren Commission just beat me down so I couldn't ask my own questions. He goes, I don't like dealing with staff members, and I just got out of there. I couldn't even stop and get my medicine for my emphysema, right? And Johnson says, well, why are you in such a hurry? He says, well, because that damn commission, they were trying to say the same bullet that hit Kennedy hit Connolly, and I just don't believe it. And Johnson says, I don't believe it either. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is the final day of the FBI investigation, when the report's turned over, he tells Johnson specifically that the second shot would have hit Kennedy if Connolly hadn't been in the way. And on the last day of the Warren Commission, after it's all over, the president's talking to one of the members of the Warren Commission who says to him, I don't believe that the same bullet that hit Kennedy hit Connolly, and Johnson agrees with him. And yet we came out for 37 years with this. So that's the reason I'm investigating. And I'm not trying to, poo-poo on everything. I'm just trying to understand this history. It's the most odd thing I've ever seen in my life. Kind of troublesome, I guess. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's just a bunch of... I mean, you guys were not stupid people down there.
Like I say, I think J. Edgar Hoover was covering his own butt.
Mm-hmm.
And Lyndon Johnson was so afraid that he was the target, he was trying to hurry everybody out of town.
Oh, yeah.
And dang shame he wasn't a target.
Ooh. Because
he was an obnoxious, sorry, no-good politician.
No. I've heard similar...
Hated Texas.
Really?
Yes.
His home state?
Yes.
Wow.
Everybody knew he was a liar and had stolen an election, and so nobody had any faith in him. He was elected a senator by a box that came in a week after all of the other boxes in Texas from Duval County, and he won the election by something like 79 votes. And the last 200 registered voters in that box had all been in the cemetery these 10 years. I'll read up on his history. He's as sorry as they come.
Wow. That is, that's kind of funny.
He came out of Duval County.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny because...
Like the Dallas News, since all this crap down in Miami has run that story in the last couple of 3 weeks. I
find that interesting because a nickname, a derogatory nickname.
Yeah, landslide.
That's right. That JFK used to call him landslide.
That's where he got it.
That's where he got it. One of my, were you back then, there's a number of researchers, that I know in the Dallas area that at the time were not Kennedy fans at all. In fact, they didn't particularly like him. They didn't hate him necessarily by any means, but they would have been someone who would have voted for Goldwater when it came around or whatever. But after this occurred, and they looked farther into it, they now are much, they are much more appreciative of him. I was wondering, when back in '63 and that time, were you more kind of neutral or didn't really care for him, or because some people were Democrats and they would just vote Democrat, some weren't. They would vote the way that they felt. What was the mood in Dallas?
Let's put it this way: I didn't vote.
Okay, yeah. Didn't.
I wasn't a Republican. I wasn't a Democrat.
Yeah.
I was an independent. I voted each race for the guy I thought was the qualified.
Voted your conscience.
Right.
That's right.
Still do.
Yeah, that's the only way to go. It's the only way to go.
No, he was humorous. No doubt about that. He had a good mind. I had a good head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes, and he made
some. Oh, yeah. Definitely did. Of course, he may not have, deserved to be judged, convicted, and executed by firing squad.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. We go to the polls, huh, to vote.
Yeah.
It's the way we do it here. Gerald Hill.
Hill Enterprises.
Yes, may I speak with Gerald Hill?
This is he.
Hi, sir. This is Greg Burnham. I met with a gentleman, DPD, retired DPD, at the Ramada in Dallas, and he passed your number on to me and told me to give you a ring. Harrison?
Yeah.
I had a few questions, and I hate to just jump to those without more introduction, but if that's okay, may I do so?
Are you the fellow out of California?
Yes, sir, San Diego.
Okay.
An email?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could give me that, I can quickly send you the photo.
Okay, it's JLH.
Okay, JLH
1231
1231
at MSN.com.
Okay, so I guess phonetically that would be James.
Microsoft. He told me about it. Okay.
A couple just real quick ones, if I might.
All right.
There was a photo taken at about 1240, roughly 1245. You can see it on the top of the TSPD building, the Hurt sign up there. And in the foreground, Buddy Walters is standing. This is on the south side of Elm, with a uniformed, obviously supervised Pfizer DPD with his white hat on. And then there is a gentleman who is in a suit, who you have the profile of his left face. He's facing towards the grassy knoll, actually, and he's bent down, retrieving something from the grass, apparently. And it has been reported, whether this is accurate or not, that it was a .45 caliber bullet. But what my question isn't what the bullet was, if it was a bullet, but the name of the man in the suit bending down.
I'd have to see the picture.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you have